Jeff Hardy, the charismatic enigma.
Phenomenal one, AJ Styles.
Guys, it's me, Pia Toscano from American Idol.
This is Matt Hardy.
Chuck Zito, and you're watching Ring Fever.
There is no cure! You've got to be kidding me!
Hello everyone, this is Il Capo Jason Gotti, your host with the most, one of the best unsigned professional wrestlers in the game today. And what you are listening to now is the Ring Fever radio show, where the fans are the stars. You know, tonight I want to talk about the big upcoming UFC on Fox 4 card. You know, you got a bunch of fights of guys that are really on the top echelon in the UFC, especially in the light heavyweight division. Starting off in the main event, we have Mauricio Shogun Rua versus Brandon the Truth Vera. Now, both men are no stranger to the light heavyweight division. Both men are no stranger to current UFC light heavyweight champion Johnny Bones Jones. Now, Dana White has been stated as saying that the winner of this fight will get a chance to face Jon Jones for the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship if he is able to get past Dan Henderson. I believe that fight is in September. Now, the funny thing about this is Mauricio Rua was not originally supposed to face Brandon Vera. Originally, they wanted him to fight Rampage Jackson. Rampage went down with a knee injury, and now he's off the card. He's going to fight again in October against a very dangerous Glover Teixeira. But let's talk about this fight. Brandon Vera, who was cut from the UFC after losing 3 in a row. Vera had, no luck. He lost to Randy Couture, beginning with UFC 105. Then he lost to Jon Jones in devastating fashion. Jones broke his orbital socket. And then obviously he had that fight with Thiago Silva where again he was beat bad. But unfortunately for Silva, that fight was overturned to a no contest because Silva tested positive for a chemical that masked his urine because he was on pain pills for a back injury. Vera came back to the UFC at UFC 137, defeating Elliot Marshall with a unanimous decision victory. Now, let's look at it from this. This is Brandon the Truth Vera's biggest fight in his career. Vera started in the UFC many, many years ago, way back at UFC Ultimate Fight Night 2, where he was in a decisive fashion where he beat Fabiano Scherner by TKO with knees. Went on to face Justin Eilers with a vicious head kick at UFC 57, and really was said to be one of the top guys at the time in the heavyweight division. You know, he had some devastating losses, decided to drop down to light heavyweight, did so-so until he went on that 3-fight losing streak, and then he was cut from the UFC and then brought back because of his previous fight with Thiago Silva was overturned to a no contest. I think Vera is one of those guys who is vicious in the stand-up. He's amazing. His Muay Thai is excellent. His kicks, his punches, he's very good in the clinch. He's also a taller guy, has a good reach. He's very rangy. And if Vera is able to put it all together, that is if he is able to put it all together, I think Shogun is in trouble. I think Shogun is in a lot of trouble if Vera can put everything together. Now let's talk about Mauricio Shogun Rua. Mauricio Shogun Rua is a pride superstar. The man is a legend in Japan. The man is a legend in the sport. A former UFC light heavyweight champion until he was dethroned by Jon Jones. Jon Jones, to me, is the Michael Jordan of MMA right now. But anybody can be beat. And I think Jones can be beat. It's just a matter of how you execute your game plan and how you do it. Nobody has seemed to be able to solve the Rubik's Cube of Jon Jones as far as fighting. He is amazing. Now, we're talking about Mauricio Shogun Rua. He has not fought in almost a year. His last fight was in November 19th of 2011 against Dan Hendo Henderson, one of my personal favorites. And I mean, that was fight of the night, fight of the year for 2011. It was definitely a classic. Now, Rua really needs this win. It's an interesting matchup because both men are dying for this win. You look at it from Mauricio Shogun Hua's perspective. You know, a superstar, a man that's been lukewarm in the UFC. His record is 4-4. But with that being said, he is a former champion. He's a former champion for a reason. He is the man who handed Lyoto Machida his first loss. The guy's good. It's just that, you know, he has to put everything together. And I think that if the Shogun that I know, that I became a fan of in Pride, if he shows up and he's ready to fight and he's got that Bushido spirit that I know he has, I think Brandon Vera is in trouble. But on the flip side, if Brandon Vera, who goes by the moniker of the Truth, can bring the truth out to this card and out to Shogun, I think Shogun's in trouble. I mean, this is really an interesting matchup. You know, I'm really looking forward to that. Now let's talk about the co-main event for UFC on Fox 4. We got Ryan Darth Bader going one-on-one against Lyoto the Dragon Machida. Machida is one heck of a talent, I'll tell you. I mean, Machida is one of those guys that you just can't predict. You know what I mean? You can't see what he's going to do in a fight. You know that he has some power in his hands. You know that he has speed. But what he does best is he has guys fight his fight. He weaves in and out. He uses angles, you know, and he makes guys fight his fight. Ryan Bader, a former winner of the Ultimate Fighter, a former, you know, I would say just up there in the light heavyweight division, real close to winning. I'm sorry, real close to getting an opportunity for the light heavyweight championship, but he was dethroned by John Jones, and then he got beat by Tito Ortiz in the first round at UFC 132 by submission. After that, he's came back and he knocked out Jason the Hitman Brills at UFC 139, and he also had a unanimous decision victory at UFC 144 against Quentin Rampage Jackson. Ryan Bader is one tough guy. I mean, he's a former Arizona Sun Devil. His wrestling is really, really good. I mean, he's got a strong core as far as his wrestling, and the guy's got power in his stand-up. He's really improved a lot since he first debuted in the UFC, which was at the Ultimate Fighter finale, Team Nogueira versus Team Mir, when he beat Vinny Margalesh. So I'm really interested in seeing Ryan Bader and Machida go at it, because I mean, both guys, you know, are good. This is a fight that is interesting. It's definitely a fight that you know, is different styles. You know, there's an old saying that says that fights do, you know, different styles of fighters do make good fights, and you know, I truly believe that that is true. You know, and I think that Machida, who has won only one of his last 4 fights, but then again, you know, his losses come against former, you know, UFC champions and current UFC champions. I mean, he lost to Mauricio Shogun Hua, which he was dethroned and lost the light heavyweight championship. He lost to Quentin Rampage Jackson by split decision in a fight that I personally thought that he won. You know, then he came back and he knocked out Randy Couture in UFC 129, actually retiring, you know, the natural. And he had that tough fight against John Jones. But who's to say that Machida, you know, won't beat him? And who's to say that Bader won't beat him? I mean, this is a fight that I'm really looking forward to see. So, I mean, this is a great headliner for UFC on Fox 4, in my opinion. Okay, up next we got Joe Lauzon versus Jamie Varner. That will be the fight right before the main event. I mean, this is a fight that I'm very interested in seeing. Lauzon is coming off a loss, I mean, a very devastating loss to Anthony Pettis, which happened to be by head kick at UFC 144. Now, we're talking about a guy that, before that, won 2 of his last, you know, 3 fights. I mean, he beat Kurt Warburton by submission, Kimura, and then he beat Melvin, the young assassin Gillard, by submission, rear naked choke. Lauzon is one of those guys that, I mean, he's definitely a submission fighter. There's no doubt about that. He's a tough kid from the Massachusetts area, you know what I mean? He's a tough guy. He's, you know, he's from East Bridgewater, you know, he's had a rough environment that he grew up, you know, he's had to fight for everything that he's gotten, and he has a lot of heart, and I think in fighting that, you know, it's not the talent that you have, I think it's your heart and your determination, and Lauzon definitely has that. But on the flip side, we got Jamie Varner. We got a guy that just came off, to me, one of his biggest, you know, wins in his career. You know, he beat Edson Barboza. I mean, this guy was a monster. I think he went 4-0 in the UFC. I mean, with that spinning, you know, heel kick that he did that knocked out, you know, excuse me, that knocked out Terry Edom. That was ridiculous. I mean, that was a highlight reel knockout. The man was getting nominated, you know, for the ESPN ESPYs for that kick. I mean, he was a monster, going 10-0 in his career. Nobody, especially, you know, at the time, nobody thought that Jamie Varner, who a lot of people thought was at the tail end of his career, he's an older guy. You know, I mean, as far as fighting, I mean, he's been around for a while. Age-wise, he's not old. Fight-wise, he's old. He's been around for a long time. He's been around for almost 10 years now. He's had some tough fights. But Varner came back, and I mean, he put Barbarossa away in the first round by TKO. That was amazing. A lot of people think that Varner's back, you know, and in my opinion, I think this is going to be the sleeper matchup of the show. This has the potential to steal the show, in my opinion. The next topic that I want to discuss is something that, you know, doesn't just affect mixed martial arts, but in my humble opinion, and yes, this is my opinion, I think it affects all aspects of sports, baseball, football, hockey, and that is the testosterone replacement therapy. Some say it's steroids. Now, okay, here's the thing about testosterone replacement therapy. As you get older, you do lose some testosterone. It's just the circle of life. It's what happens, you know. But that's when you're older, okay? Guys that are in their early to mid-20s should not be on this. And the reason that they are on this is very simple, whether people want to admit it or not. And you know what? They don't want to admit it. It's because they've taken steroids. And not only have they taken steroids, but they abuse steroids. See, if anybody doesn't know about steroids, steroids ups your testosterone. That is what steroids does. So the normal person has a testosterone, epitestosterone ratio of 1-to-1. Okay, now the Nevada State Athletic Commission allows a ratio as high to 6-to-1. Now, granted, there are people that have a higher higher ratio of testosterone. You know, there are some natural people that do have it that don't take steroids. Okay, I mean, some people are stronger than others, and you can't explain it. I understand that, but nobody should be testing a 16-to-1, 14-to-1 ratio like Alistair Overeem did, which is why he was suspended. Nobody should. I mean, it's very obvious. You're taking steroids. That's what you're doing. Now, who's to say that some fighters might generally need it? You know, like Dan Henderson. He's in his 40s. You know, I'm sure, you know, he needs it, okay? But who's to say that he never used steroids in his life? I don't know. Only Dan Henderson knows that. I know he came from Pride, where Pride never tested for steroids. They never tested for illegal drugs. So who knows? See, the problem is this. I mean, there's fighters in the UFC and ex-fighters in the UFC that have been, you know, using this, that have had exemption. A couple of them, off the top of my head, is one that is very notorious, Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen has been exempted. But before that, he was suspended for a while until he had his hearing and his appeal, and the Nevada State Athletic Commission now allows it. Henderson, as I mentioned, is another one that was allowed it. Todd Duffy, former UFC fighter, he's a guy who has received TRT and been exempt from it. And Nate the Great Marquardt, who is now a Strikeforce fighter and currently the 170-pound welterweight champion of Strikeforce. As recent, there has been two fighters who have all been granted testosterone replacement therapy, which is Frank Mir. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because it's fresh into my mind. My favorite fighter of all time, Tito Ortiz, the Huntington Beach bad boy, another guy that speaks his mind and goes against the grain, which is something that I do, okay? He found out after his fight with Forrest Griffin that Forrest, you know, he was using testosterone replacement therapy, that it came out after the fight, after the test, and Tito, you know, he really hasn't been very happy about it, and I don't blame him, you know, and this is something that is a quote from Tito. This is what Tito said. This is the same thing that we've been trying to stop from happening. And all of a sudden, in the last 6 months, it's legal to do. You're allowed to be 6 times over the average. Since day one, since I've been competing over the last 15 years, I've always been on an even field. Why all of a sudden other fighters can be on a higher 6 times the amount over an average person? I mean, Tito makes really great points on this. 6 times over? That's not natural. You're taking something, you know? I mean, you're putting these chemicals into your body to give you an unfair advantage. Now, granted, you know, you need talent. You need talent in anything you do to be good at it, okay? But yes, hard work can overcome, you know, a guy that's naturally talented. But how is a guy, just a normal guy, you know, that works hard in the gym, how is he going to beat another normal guy that might not be as talented but works hard, but he's taking steroids? So that gives him an unfair advantage. I don't think it's fair. And, you know, I'm with Ortiz on this stance. And I think that the UFC and MMA and all sports should really keep an eye on this, you know, more. I mean, because if that's the fact, then why don't everybody just take steroids so that it isn't even fair, you know, playing field? Now, granted, I'm a professional wrestler. You know, in the industry that I'm in, I mean, most people, 9 out of 10 wrestlers are on steroids. You know, they won't come out and say it, but it's the truth. You know, you don't look like He-Man without taking it. And that's the truth. You're not supposed to look like a baby gorilla. It's just not natural. You can be in shape and you can look good, but you're not supposed to look like that. And you're on something. And to me, it's bullshit. It's cheating. You know, you know, if you look at me, I am never used a steroid in my life, and I never plan on using it. You know, there's times in my life where I've gotten in really good shape and I've gotten heavy again. I'm naturally a heavy guy, and it's something I got to work at to be in shape. And I don't think it's fair, especially, you know, in the sports field of MMA, where, you know, they're getting based on their winning and their losing and you know, how they perform. It's not fair, and it needs to stop. And I'm with Tito Ortiz, who's taking a stance against this. And other guys have too. Boss Rutan's another one. BJ Penn's another one. And BJ Penn and Boss both have championships. Okay? Both are great fighters. Now, who's to say if they took steroids, would they be even better? Probably so. But see, they have conviction. And, you know, they stand up for what they believe in. And that's very, very admirable. And my opinion, and this is my opinion, I think that testosterone replacement therapy is a bunch of BS. Unless, you know, you're in your late 30s to 40s, and you do need it. But I don't think you should be granted it because you wanted to take steroids in your life, and now you used up all your testosterone. Because that's what steroids do. They give you extra testosterone. And what happens is when you continue to use steroids, and you don't take care of yourself, and you just use these steroids, and which is chemicals in your body will stop making testosterone naturally, and then you're screwed because now you're going to have to take them. It's a vicious cycle that, in my opinion, we need to stop. All right, everybody, we are back here with Ring Fever, where the fans are the stars. I want to close the show on something. I want to take it a different route. I want to talk about something, to me, that is really, really heartbreaking and really terrible. You know, it's something that, you know, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. Everybody knows the professional wrestler Kamala, the Ugandan giant. Everybody knows his matches with Hulk Hogan and The Undertaker, all these big names. You know, this guy's been to the top, you know, the upper echelon of the professional wrestling business. And now the man, you know, he's in a really, really bad bind. He lost both of his legs due to diabetes. Now, there are people in wrestling, unfortunately, that see someone like a Kamala, and right away they want to play on people's emotions. They want to play on others that feel bad for him, that want to help, that good people that want to help, they want to donate, they want to help this guy out. And they want to, you know, use things that they call benefits for their own agenda. And that's terrible. Kamala recently posted a video on YouTube talking about Main Event Wrestling, which is run by Dan Marotti, how he's supposedly having benefits for Kamala, but yet he has not gotten a single cent. Now, Dan, it's kind of funny. What kind of a person are you, huh? That you're going to have people give their hard-earned dollar, and I know about a hard-earned dollar, especially in this economy, and you're going to put it in your pockets. Now, even worse than this, I mean, I'm sure none of you have ever heard of this guy. I'm in the wrestling business, and I never heard of him, okay? Now, someone that you did hear of, and an organization that you have heard of, okay, according to Kamala, and I personally do not see why this guy would lie, And I did a little research about this. Wrestlers Rescue, which is ran by Dawn Marie. Dawn Marie of WWE and ECW fame. Hell, I remember Dawn Marie. I used to watch her, back in the day in ECW and everything with Lance Storm and Just Incredible and all that good stuff. Now, Dawn, she runs this organization called Wrestlers Rescue that, is supposed to help out wrestlers in need. They work with Jimmy Snuka and other people too. Now, Kamala is claiming that he has not seen a dime, that they did some kind of a benefit for him, but yet he has not received a single cent. Now, when I seen this video, to me, I mean, I understand how the wrestling business is, it's tough. Not everybody is a good guy or a good girl. But, you gotta look at both parties, you know what I'm saying? I personally don't know Dawn Marie. I never met her, you know what I mean? I just know her from watching her on TV when I was, younger and before I got into business. So I did a little research into this. And I've heard about some negative things that Wrestler Rescue has done, claims that they aren't who they say they are. So I said, okay, let me look into this. And I went on their website, which was wrestlersrescue.org. And it's a little funny that the site is suspended and no longer online. That's just a little strange to me. So basically, what both you guys are doing is you're claiming that you're gonna take money, you're gonna take donations from the good people, the good-hearted people in this world, and you're gonna use that against them, and you're gonna take their money and you're gonna put it in your pocket. Well, shame on you. Shame on you. I don't care who you are. Okay? See me, I'm not a, as we say in this business, mark. I'm not a mark. You understand? I know what's really going on. And that's a shame. This guy Kamala, he's given his life, to this business, and he has nothing to show for it. And I feel bad for him, you know what I mean? And he doesn't have legs anymore now due to diabetes. And the guy doesn't, he's not asking people for charity. You understand what I'm saying? You guys approached him and said you wanted to do this. And now you're not going to give the money to him? I mean, it's wrong. Listen, it's wrong. Listen. All right. Me, I'm gonna be real. You know what I mean? I understand I play this character that, I'm a bad guy and everything. And it's a character, okay? Me personally, outside of the ring, I try to do as much good as I can. I try to be upfront. If I give someone my word, I stick by it. But I realize, especially in this business, that's not true. So if anybody wants to donate any kind of fund for Kamala, here's where you can do it. You can email them at jkimala, which is jkamala, at AOL.com. Or you can donate to him directly. His mailing address is Giant Kamala, Kamala, P.O. Box 235, Como, Mississippi 38619. That's Como, Como, Mississippi 38619. I never met this man, but I can empathize with this guy's situation, and I feel terrible for him. I feel bad for anybody that is going through tough times. I've been through tough times in my life. And listen, like I said, he's not asking people to do it. You know what I'm saying? If you watch the video, if you look it up on YouTube, look up a message from Kamala, the Ugandan Giant. You can see he's sincere with it. And I don't ever want to see other people try to take, good-natured, good-hearted people and use that for their advantage. And if you don't like what I got to say, too bad. You shouldn't be a scumbag, and you shouldn't use people. And that's it. So anybody, if you really want to truly donate to this man who's given his life to this business, who's given his heart and his soul and his body to entertaining each and every single one of you, please do. If you don't, I understand. But if you do, this is the way to do it. This is the way that your funds will go directly to Kamala. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Ring Fever radio show. This is our first show. I am your host, El Capo Jason Gotti, and this is the first of many. This is only the start of the greatness that will be the Ring Fever radio show. And remember, there is no cure.